Persian kings had their tombs carved into the rock face of the Naqshe Rostam, only a few kilometers away from Persepolis. From among the 7 royal graves, only the first one belonging to Darius I could be identified without a doubt. The tombs are built in a similar pattern. All of them have a door that opens into the crypt from a cross-shaped, smoothly polished facade. Semi-pillars support the protruding roof, and the facades of the grave chambers remind us of palaces. The royal tombs, ornamented by reliefs of battle scenes from the 3rd and 4th centuries, created for the Sassanids, the last dynasty prior to the Arab invasion, several centuries after the fall of the Persian Empire, are also truly worth a visit. A multiple-level fire temple stands right next to the royal tombs. The picture of semi-columns and gates carved into the sandstone are reminiscent of Petra in Jordan or Lykia in Turkey. Isfahan is considered the most beautiful city in Iran. The city was built at an altitude of 1,600 meters above sea level on the bank of the Zayandeh Rud River. Isfahan, Nes Yahan. In English, Isfahan is half of the world. That's how people once referred to the former capital of the Safavid kings, the place where you can marvel at the most magnificent creations of Islamic architecture and art. Isfahan was chosen as the capital of Iran by Shah Abbas in 1598. Glorious mosques, palaces, and bridges were built in the city, along with lavish gardens and parks, in the course of a few decades. The district of Christian Armenians who settled in Isfahan at the beginning of the 1600s is a unique spot in the city. The excellent Armenian artisans and merchants raised a number of Orthodox or Eastern Christian churches. The largest one among them is the Vank or All Saviors Cathedral. The paintings and frescoes made in the 1660s and 70s representing biblical scenes are an interesting combination of European and Persian art. The cathedral's episcopal throne is a truly masterful work of art. The cupola and the walls of the church are decorated by colorful frescoes that depict the events of the life of Christ, his entry to Jerusalem, his miracles, and the Armenian version of the Last Supper. The Armenian Museum across from the cathedral presents the troubled fate and history of the people of the world's first Christian country. Here in Persia, or Iran, Armenians were never subjected to such atrocities and persecution as in the former Ottoman Empire. If you wish to explore the Islamic mementos of Isfahan, you should start your trip at the Friday Mosque. The first smaller Arab-style mosque was originally built in the place of an ancient fire temple in the 10th century. Isfahan was the capital of the great Shayuk Empire. To announce its rank and the role it played in the protection of Sunnite Islam, Grand Vizier Nizam al-Mulk developed the old main mosque into a building complex unparalleled in the Islamic world. Archaeological findings prove that the Jami, built after 1086, is the 4th structure on the site. In 1052, Nasiri Khusrau, a well-known traveler of the era, also wrote praising words about the city and the mosque. The 2 masterful Sayyid cupola halls have forever tied this monument to the name of this dynasty. The southern Qiblat side cupola is the creation of Nizam al-Mulk, as attested to by an inscription as well. A few years later, Taj al-Mulk, the adversary of the Grand Vizier, had his own dome built on the other side, the so-called Grey Cupola. Many consider it to be the most beautiful cupola of Persian architecture, and in fact, there are only very few pieces of architecture where structure and decoration combine in such perfect unity. Several graceful bridges span the Zayandeh River. The most beautiful among them is the Kaju Bridge. It's 155 meters long, 14 meters wide, and has 26 arches. It's a multifunctional structure, not only providing safe crossing, but also serving as a lock and a water level regulator at the same time. The two arcades of the bridge were favorite resting places of the local dignitaries in the time of Shah Abbas. Today, we can also feel like dignitaries sipping delicious Iranian tea at one of the tea houses on the bridge. Just like in other Arab countries, tea is more popular than coffee in Iran. They also like the apple tea that is best known from Turkey. At the tea houses, you can also satisfy your craving for a shisha. The shaking or tilting minaret is a special local feature. If you lean on it and shake it a bit, the minaret starts to sway as if it were drunk, probably caused by the vibrations. Of course, only in theory, as alcohol is prohibited for Iranians. If you go back to the riverbank, don't miss the bridge Siosep Pol or Alaverdi Khan. Once, camel caravans passed through the 400-year-old brick bridge. In the evening, girls wearing veils and black chadors and boys in jeans walk on the illuminated bridge holding hands. But here, it doesn't mean that they're homosexuals. One of the most beautiful sections downtown is the Chehel Sotun, a 40-pillar palace and its well-groomed park. This is the palace where the throne hall of Shah Abbas was. The palace was named after the reflection of its 18 slender wooden columns doubled in the water of the pool in front of it. The Persians rounded the number up, since the number 40 not only represented a round figure, but also the idea of numerous or plenty. You'll see a captivating canopy-like painted coffered ceiling above the wooden pillar heads. The Great Hall of the building is a must-see, where you can marvel at paintings of famous battle scenes made in the 19th century in the time of the Qajju dynasty. The depiction of humans was not as strictly prohibited for the Iranian Shiites as for the Sunnites of the Arab countries. The rest of the pictures portray the Persian emperors of the past 400 years, among them Shah Nadir, who had the peacock throne of the Indian Moguls brought to Persia as a trophy of war. Shah Abbas II, the son of Safi I, was a member of the Safavid dynasty. He inherited the throne at the age of 9 upon his father's death. His 4 brothers were blinded as a precaution. During his reign, Persia didn't have to fight against the attack of the Ottoman Empire. Actually, it could even expand its borders as it grabbed Kandahar from the Mughal Empire. In 1650, his fleet defeated the Portuguese Armada, so he could take control over the entire Persian Gulf. With his domestic policy, he continued the efforts of his predecessors to centralize the whole country. Significant architectural relics of his reign are the Chehel Sotun Palace and the Hoju Bridge. He died in Hosrababad, and he was buried at the Shiite church center Gome, according to the family's tradition. Imam Square, or formerly the Shah Square, is the impressive main square of Isfahan. It's huge, one of the largest in the world, with a length of 500 meters and a width of 160 meters. Only the Tiananmen Square in Beijing is larger. In the middle of it, people played polo games in the era of Shah Abbas. At both ends, you can still see the marble columns that once served as gates. On the western side of the square is the Ali Gate. It means tall gate, and this is the real entrance of the main square. Shah Abbas had the smaller pavilion that formerly stood here redesigned and turned it into a real palace. There are 60 rooms in the building. Some of them feature wall paintings depicting the members of Shah Abbas' court. Thousands of years ago, traveling merchants already told sagas about the wonderful recreational place in the slopes of the Zagros Mountains and the shady gardens of the oasis that lies on the banks of the Zayandeh River. The green oasis later became a trade settlement and eventually developed into a rich royal seat where the best architects of Persia could experiment freely with their ideas and carry out the wildest dreams of their contractors. That's how Isfahan, the city that boasts the highest number of the most beautiful structures in the region between the Caspian Sea and the Persian Gulf, became the second largest city of Iran with its 4 million inhabitants. If you climb up the 112 steps, you'll be rewarded by an unforgettable view from the deck on the top. Looking to the south, you can see the blue cupola and the minarets of the Imam Mosque. This building incorporates all the beauty of Persian Islamic architecture. Its glazed tile facade is breathtaking. Across from it rises the huge, colorful dome of the Sheikh Lutfallah Mosque, and to the north there's the entrance of the several-kilometer-long bazaar. There was a fountain once in the middle of the terrace. The fabulously beautiful Lutfallah Mosque was completed in 1619. The sheikh it was named after was a doctor, revered as a Shiite saint. Lately, it's been considered probable that the mosque was reserved for the harem of the Shah. The rectangular praying room can be accessed through a relatively short corridor. The light that comes through the trellised windows of the cupola lends a slightly mystical atmosphere to the interiors. The dominating colors are blue, gold, and yellow, with the internal decoration reminiscent of the designs of Persian rugs. In 1000 AD, Isfahan had more than 100 mosques and Quran schools, 2,000 caravanserais, and 300 public baths. The name of the Isfahan Bazaar became a notion in Iran. In the maze of the age-old, ancient covered bazaar, you can find all the products of Iran. In addition to the carefully hammered shiny bowls of the coppersmiths, the valuable Persian rugs, and the fancy clothes, an endless selection of souvenirs, dried fruits, oriental sweets, and alcohol-free beer is also offered. You can bargain almost everywhere, but it requires a lot of patience. The huge bazaar that is spread out in an area of 30 square kilometers leads right into the heart of the city, to the Maidin Imam. Contrary to other historic cities, the old town Isfahan is still vibrant with life. You can see artisans work under the arcades and their workshop service shop windows. Anyone can watch how mosaics, miniatures, calligraphies, or traditionally designed silk or screen-printed cotton fabrics are made. And of course, the famous Isfahan rugs are still among the most sought-after articles. Finally, we must pay a visit to the most monumental site of Isfahan, the Imam Mosque. This perhaps most colorful and most spectacular mosaic-covered building complex of the country was constructed between 1612 and 1630. The entrance arch has amazing stalactite decorations. It has two gorgeous cylindrical minarets towering above the main facade. The closed inner courtyard behind the cupola forms an acute angle with the entrance acts. The Savistan, or main praying hall, is a central part of the mosque. Its domed main hall reaches up to 54 meters. The shrine, or mihrab, and the pulpit, or minbar, next to it both face Mecca. Today, the mosque is open to visitors as a museum. It has two madrasas, or Islamic clerical schools, that joined it a long time ago. The Persian, Arabic, and Seljuk Turkish styles have left their marks on mosques, madrasas, and shrines alike. The old Oriental trends were creatively boosted by the Islamic influences, which are also reflected by the harmonic proportions and the clean lines of the mosque, thereby giving spectators the impression of absolute perfection. The sight of the Imam Square at night is unforgettable. It's worth roaming the city of Isfahan. You'll bump into cheerful singing or dancing men here and there. They would surely love to have fun with and enjoy the company of women, but strict Shiite traditions prohibit that. Wrapped in their chadors, the women glide like black crows in the streets on their way home. Young people are clearly tired of gender segregation, but they can only hope that the strict regulations will ease one day. Khoda Hafez. Goodbye. Let's say farewell to them and to Iran for now.